Hello, I'm DK Johnston, and welcome to Alaska Filmmakers, a series dedicated to exploring the many talented individuals working in the Alaska film community. With today's technology, filmmakers are able to produce a variety of content for audiences all around the world. Today's guest, Scott Slone, has taken full advantage of this opportunity with his series, Alaska HDTV. What started out as a simple idea to document Alaska's backyard has grown into a popular online and televised series highlighting some of the most interesting and beautiful destinations here in the state of Alaska. Today, host Joshua Lowman sits down with Scott to talk about his filmmaking experiences and the future of Alaska HDTV.
Scott, so how did you get started in the film industry?
I got involved in filmmaking when I was a kid. My grandfather was a professional photographer, and I think I remember looking at, he was a wartime photographer and then became a portrait photographer when he was done with the military. And looking at his pictures, the stills, and how was he able to tell a story with just that, freeze frame, that really kind of set things in motion for me, because I wondered what things would be like in motion. It got me looking at movies a little differently, hearing his stories, and so there's a little bit of an influence there. I remember later when my folks had, I don't know if you remember the VHS decks that you sling around your shoulder, and then you have a shoulder mount camera. I remember begging them to let me take that, up to Flat Top, hike up there. And I mean, that had to have been, I don't know, heavy it was. And going up there and filming my friends skiing. And no editing platforms like the kids have today. So it was really just the takes as it went together, and we edited it on the VHS deck. So I really enjoyed that. Then in high school, I had finished my requirements my senior year, and I could just go to school half day, and I was pretty excited about that. And my folks were not going to have me sitting at home watching MTV or or wandering the malls. So I took radio and television productions at the Career Center. I think it's now the King Career Center, and that really was the hook for me. We learned the whole entire process, from writing to camera work, setting it up, packaging it up, and that's where things started. I went to college for something completely different: business administration and computer programming. And then in 2004, through programming, I did a lot of search engine positioning for Fortune 500 companies. Was learning how to manipulate RSS feeds for different reasons, and ran into a Wired article where they had audio and video enclosures. Well, video enclosures was coming, but audio enclosures. And I knew that this was going to be the change in how people use content online and are entertained. So I jumped on that quite quick in 2004. And 2006, video enclosures were there, and I was back into editing and producing my own stuff. iMovie was on the table, then Final Cut Express and Final Cut Pro, and here I am today. So long response, but that's really kind of the journey so far.
You had mentioned that your grandfather had done some wartime stuff. Is that kind of what got you to do more towards the documentary, towards the real life, as opposed to the narrative? Yeah,
I've always been reality, keeping it. I mean, there's something about capturing something raw and real emotion in the moment that attracts me to filmmaking. And he was in the conditions he had to work in. I think that's, and I love going into the outdoors and the backcountry. So there's a lot of similarity between his photography and my shooting outdoors. That's really where I live.
What kind of productions would you like to work on? Right now you're doing a lot of the outdoor stuff. Is there something you would like to do more? Is there like a dream project for you?
I don't think it's so much about a dream production as it's actually having the opportunity to work with a team and help put something together. That's where I get high, is the concept to the finished product and sending it out and then watching a reaction. So I think that someday working on a crew on a documentary, or a documentary would probably be where I'd be happy. But
When you were working, when you were doing the tech stuff, had you left the state for that, or were you still working in Alaska when you were doing the search engine programming? And
I started here, and I did leave Alaska. I grew up here, so I needed to see what was in the lower 48 and be a little bit closer to technology. So I went to Oregon, which sat between California and Washington, and really learned a lot. And I was even doing a little bit of video editing then, just playing around, but nothing in creating films, shooting events, practicing telling stories. But like I said, it's been lifelong. It's come in and out. But I think it's been the programming and search engine positioning. These are things I saw when I decided to do film, produce things full time, that have afforded me to be able to do what I'm doing today.
so did you work on any productions outside of Alaska, or just here?
I've traveled Alaska, filming Alaska. I've been to a lot of remote locations, been to a lot of places. And so I've served as a good contact for production houses for Discovery Channel, National Geographic, History, smaller productions, and just answering questions and helping them in different areas. This past spring, I got to work with a production company producing something with National Geographic, and that was my first in the field kind of crew experience. And so assistant camera, locations, setting up interviews, I had a blast. They wanted to get dirty, I got dirty, and good time.
How was that different from the experience you've had doing your own shows up here?
There's not as much collaboration. When I'm by myself, I'm usually out there, so I have to think of everything. So I think it was a lot easier working with other people. Somebody's got the camera, somebody's got the sound, and for me, working solo, it's pretty hard. It's a lot of work. I come back, I need about 3 days to recover. But that would be the difference.
What kind of training have you had?
I would say that my training in editing and filming came from the Career Center. That was my senior year. And John Ringland was my teacher. He was I think he was a producer at Channel 13 in town. And he really fed us. We were really passionate about learning. It was just, we were just saturating ourselves with the whole production process. And I learned a lot working at the news stations. I would say that was my formal training. I haven't had any other, didn't go to school for this. Like I said, I've been self-taught, and a lot of that's just picking up books, doing a lot of research. There's a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of things available out there even today that I didn't have 5 years ago, when I got back into this.
Can you tell me a little bit about Alaska HDTV?
Alaska HDTV for me is a playground. It's been I had big dreams for it. It started off as a podcast called Alaska Pod Show, and I guess I should give you a little history on how that came to be. Once video RSS enclosures were supported, people could subscribe to these audio and video shows. And so I started producing stuff, webisodes is what they're called today, or podcasts. And I started putting these out. And they were basically, I started going out and featuring my hikes. I love hiking, going up mountains, and finding wildlife. And so editing all this together and putting it out really grew an audience. And I remember initially in the first couple months I had 80,000 people subscribed to my feed. And I knew I had something, and I thought, that's pretty amazing and bizarre at the same time. So I kept feeding that. And Alaska HDTV evolved from Alaska Pod Show because I felt like there was, there's a lot of other podcasters coming up. There's a lot of other people producing videos online. And as that was maturing, I thought that it would be more of an outlet for other producers to put stuff up. And some people have reached out, music videos that I have on there from other producers. And I had another production company do their outdoor hunting and fishing show on there. It's Alaska HDTV it's just a creative outlet. It's a house for me to put out and be able to share Alaska. I mean, this is my backyard, so I mean, how can you mess this place up,
My name's Scott. My family's been in Alaska for 5 generations. I invite you to join me as I hike, boat, climb, explore, and travel throughout some of the most awe-inspiring locations in America's last frontier, Alaska. Today, I'm taking the Alaska Railroad, where I get a chance to see the Kenai Peninsula from a completely different perspective. The rail is taking us to Seward, which is one of my favorite places to experience Alaska's coastal habitat and wilderness. And the opportunities from here are unlimited, from kayaking to wildlife viewing to incredible coastal island adventures. Planes, boats, all-terrain vehicles, climbing, hiking, but I've never experienced Alaska's wilderness and landscape by rail. The Alaska Railroad offers something pretty special when it comes to experiencing Alaska's Kenai Peninsula, and this, my friends, I'm really excited.
Hey, thanks. You are, sir? Yeah.
I always say, there's a great meal behind every great adventure, and the crew holds nothing back when it comes to this breakfast.
Oh my God, that's great. Riding in style. So we're getting ready to head into the flats just past Portage Valley, and this is one of my favorite parts of the trip because it really opens up into some great wilderness, and we're going to see, bald eagle's nest, good opportunity for moose, great day for glaciers, so it's going to be a great time.
There's a real sense of solitude as the mountainous terrain of the Kenai reveals some of its best hidden secrets. Like this Spencer Glacier and this black bear just 50 yards off the train. And some of the best part of my travels is watching others experience for the first time what I get to see every day.
Do you have a vision for Alaska HDTV, where you want it to go in the future, how you want it to grow?
I'd like to see Alaska HDTV grow. I'd like to see it eventually be taken up by somebody. I'm a one-man band at this point, so I shoot, edit, produce, distribute all of my content, and I shoot year-round. But I'd like to see it sometime go into something where people could find more Alaska, great Alaska content, discover Alaska, and the more I've seen the film community grow here, I see it maybe being a tool. So
when you say you want to start working with more crews and adding on more people, are you thinking adding more documentaries about the state of Alaska, or adding in more narrative, featuring the state in general?
I'd like to do. I'd like to incorporate some narrative. I think one of the things I'd like to work more in this next year is a lot more sound, and some of that narrative. I have a lot of footage and some ideas that I've been filming over the past couple of years with a few ideas in mind, and I do the narrative on the shows that I produce, but I think being able to use voiceover, people who are really good with voice artists, to start doing some of the narrative and have some film shorts, some documentary style pieces, which would be nothing more than a vanity production, I suppose. And I hope that You know, I've always looked at Alaska HDTV really in heart as a jumping off point, maybe my proving ground into working with other people and bringing on other people locally just to get to know them and work together and maybe receive ideas. You know, I think I'd like to work with writers too.
In kind of talking about the being able to work with new and more people, do you think the film incentive has helped that at all, bringing up the level of crew that we have up here?
I think I think the benefits that I've seen is it's drawn a lot of people out, and you know, this Alaska Filmmakers is a result of that. I think is really pulling people together and getting to know each other, and a lot more networking. And then there's the, you know, open projector nights. Those are things that are really drawing people out, and I need to get out there. I'm looking forward to this winter so I can go to some of these things and attend and network and, you know, bounce ideas off and put myself out there to help.
Can you tell me how you've been able to go full time in doing this with your webisodes?
One of the things that has allowed me to do this full time year round is, I mean, aside from doing other productions, things for lodges and, you know, promoting some of the destinations that I use, that's one source of revenue that I've used to help do my productions. On the other end of things, I think my knowledge and my research and using the tools out there online is the distribution part. And I think that that has been the key for me to stay afloat. And that's distributing your content. I just did a deal with Time Warner Cable, and so I have stuff on their new travel channel, which is on video on demand. I have stuff in Germany, you know, in a variety, Amazon, video on demand. I can't name them all, but it's, you know, I've worked with Dogma Studios and distribution. So it's really taking my content, produce it once, and get it out there as to many places as possible. And that's, you know, there's advertising deals and barters that happen in there. There's also just content buys. And, you know, LinkedIn's been a great tool in that area. There's a lot of resources there, and there's a lot of companies that, IPTV, you know, as that's growing, that's allowed, you know, a lot of those people are on LinkedIn. So being able to ask them, put your content out there and say, you know, I have a lot of shows on Alaska. Alaska's hot in Germany, so that's a great place to market. And out east, there's a lot of people out east that like Alaska. So that's, you know, there's been a lot of draw out there as well. So, but yeah, I think that's probably I wouldn't be doing this full time, and it would be, you know, working another job and doing my productions at the same time. And it hasn't always been easy. Like I said, you know, one-man band, but it's been good. The more you know, the more you know.
Right. Well, what are you working on right now?
Right now, I just finished a whole, and learning the hard way. I've learned that there's a reason for seasons in shows. I just finished up filming this whole entire summer. I took last winter off, didn't really put anything out. So I filmed all last winter, all this summer, and now I'm going into my first actually releasing things into seasons. So this winter, we'll have stuff from last winter and this summer. And then as I shoot this winter and summer, I can start putting the content out there. So right now I'm in editing and content distribution right now.
So what do you see with the future of filmmaking in Alaska?
Right now it's hot, I think. I'm excited to hear of some of the bigger films coming up here. I think with the film community booming and growing, and a lot of people feeding it, and the collaboration I'm seeing, I see it taking off. I think that it's going to continue to grow. The tax incentive's been a benefit. We've seen a lot of films come up here, and you know, our local film community is growing. You know, open projector night, the film festivals that are up here, the attendance that's happening. I really see it being a cornerstone here in Alaska. It's going to continue to grow and you know, really help Alaska flourish, especially outside. I think it's going to have some influence. We're going to start looking up here for good content, and they're also going to be looking at coming up here to do more filming.
What advice would you have for new filmmakers?
Immerse yourself in that thing that you're interested in, and whether, I mean, for me, it's been the whole entire scope. I've had to learn everything. I've had to learn how to write, do voiceovers, audio recording. You know, if you're really passionate about what you're doing, you have to immerse yourself in it. And you can go to school and you can have professional training and education, but I think with the technology that's available to us now, and the cameras and how they're changing, you know, prosumer cameras to HD SLRs, you know, people are shooting stuff on a Canon, you know, T2i, you know. So there's, you have to really stay on your toes, I think, right now. So I think that would be, you know, the one thing: network, immerse yourself in it, and there's a ton of tools online that are available to you. So, you know, go seek those out and network. You know, I think here in Alaska we've got an awesome community and a lot of production. Everybody wants to work together, I think. So embrace that.
That's all the time we have today in Alaska Filmmakers. To learn more about Scott and Alaska HDTV, visit our website at alaskafilmmakers.com. I'd like to thank Scott for stopping by, and to the Alaska Pacific University for their hospitality, and to all of our sponsors and supporters for helping make this season of AKF possible. Join us next week for guest documentary filmmaker and field producer Laura Gannis. Until then, remember, everyone has a story to tell.